definitely was. I definitely wanted to really talk a little bit about that Revolt Summit. Now, that's my thoughts on it. Actually had some real good points, but also had a lot of misleading points. The first thing I definitely want to state is also too about Revolt is you definitely when you go to Revolt, it's not run directly by Diddy. It's actually run by an Indian woman, East Indian from India, named Khan. I think her last name is something Khan. She already had controversial that swirl around her. She when she came into Revolt, Revolt was basically given by Comcast to minority owners or people of color, whatever term you want to use, in a basic clause within, from what the NAACP and Urban League, and also Al Sharpton signed some shady ass deal that basically came back and biting us in the ass now. But anyway, there were when she came into Revolt, it was a lot of controversial with her. For basically, she fired 30% um, of the original staff, another 30%, 99% was entirely black. Mainly, she kept everybody that was basically non-black. She kept. She made a couple references to Meek Mill when he was going through uh, his cases and going back to jail and everything else. She made he was talking about prison reform and things like that. She was also made very racialist comments about he needed to stick to rapping and call him a little black boy. She said black women intimidate her, so she can't work with black women. And Diddy basically defended her, fiercely defended her. Um, through all, not just aggregation, but just truth. So that's just the thing with Ron Revolt. It's just shaky. That's why I had kind of had some doubts with this summit. But there really was no economic, no politician, no really nobody that knew a lot of things in politics and stuff like that. Um, as well, but also as Mike, um, Killer Mike and stuff. Killer Mike said some points. But also to shout out to Michi. Shout out to Nala said a lot of people even thought crime. They critique it a little bit. And Candace Owen, Katrina Parson, Ti was on there. You had Timmy Mallory. You had another guy I really can't remember. Um, but I let you know he didn't really say that much, and you can't even remember what he's talking about. Uh, what he said on the summit. But I think the thing about everybody was on Candace Owen because the crowd was basically not really like Ti wasn't letting her finish. The crowd was very hostile to her. It was just a lot of emotional. Now, get me wrong, Candace and Katrina is very far right in that type of ideology, but they did have certain key points in reference that is true what they were saying, and it's not the first time that the crowd or the people or the viewers heard um, the statement that they were basically talking about during the time with the black family. They're not really agreeing with the feminism movement. Feminism, they're not. They say you need about welfare. Not it's entirely true with the women just pushing out black men, but as today, um, is you have to almost have not a black man in the house or a man in the house to receive government assistance. Even in the beginning, that wasn't the case. It was all, in the government standpoint, it was already planned. But they did have a few things that was discussed that even Farrakhan and a few people were saying then and even in the way before the summit. So there were some points there that I have to give it to Candace and Katrina. Even though some of the other points that they were talking about, especially during slavery, was very vague. Now, as you know, Candace and Katrina, they're not entirely ADOS. So, like, I think Katrina is mixed. She's biracial, white mother, black father. Candace Owen come from Caribbean background. So there's of slavery and oppression and certain things in that example, they really didn't have a fixed or a stern or solid viewpoint with that. It was very shaky. Uh, T.I. was kind of showing a little bit of disrespect, but at the same time, him not really knowing nothing. He didn't really know enough to really be speaking about a political view, especially when he's talking about we don't need reparations. Okay, we listened to Jay Morris because Jay Morris was there. Now people say I think Jay Morris talked about we need a national black vote day to talk what we are. Talk about we need a flag, we need a night, we need a seat at Council UN. You really don't need none of that. The ethnic or nationality is American. The flag is the American flag, but you don't need a flag to get compensation or reparation. Many groups uh, didn't use, didn't need a flag. They just had a claim against the country that the country basically systematically, single-handedly, specifically oppressed, and they got rewarded compensation. That's what reparation is. So I mean, you don't need UN approval because the thing about the UN, even if the United States is a major member of the UN, so they got their voting power is a massive. Um, there's only a handful of countries that got voting power. So that kills whatever Jay Morris was saying. Plus, I've been looking at Jay Morris. He always talk about reference of the Dominican. So if he's Dominican, I mean you're non-ADOS, and you're in a discussion that you shouldn't be doing. Plus, like I said, I'm not gonna listen to a nigga that don't really have his own shit in order. I mean, right now with he has to file for bankruptcy. Uh, for with his Tulsa real estate fund. So there's some things, and even his corner is shaky. Like I said, I'm gonna call it. He's out of prison. He be talking a lot. I'm gonna tell any dude's out of prison. I'm gonna call you a Babylon. Cause you know why? Cause you just babble. It's a lot of babble. You use a lot of big words. You be sophisticated. You talk real fast in a way, but it's still Babel. So I'm gonna call you Babylon. That's what I'll have to say. Yeah, he's a Babylon. But like I said, Ti was also talking about when they were talking about um, black people wealth and prosperity have been declined since the '60s or '70s. Ti rebuttal was no, we're all rich. We've been we got millionaires. He's talking about basically the celebrities, like himself and big Killer Mike when they gave the bump about their tax breaks and stuff like that. And that's why I kind of said that's where the the out of touch happened. That's where the disconnect happened to me. Because basically they look at themselves as being successful. They're not looking at the entire collective is not successful. A lot of us is just hanging on by a thread. So that was a disconnect in my way. My Killer Mike had some killer about the two masters, even though two masters is like a 10 points, even though that 10 points was already created and used even by Franklin Douglass and even by uh, uh, by Washington. So I mean, it was a lot. It was a lot of reference, and um, now Killer Mike had me kind of confused. He was talking about nobody don't get a vote. They have our agenda, but I remember he clearly advocated for Bernie Sanders, and he did talk about what Bernie Sanders would do for us is the best we could do. So I mean, obviously, now like I said, he did reference the ADUS, Antonio Moore, Yvette Cornell, a little bit more recently since his interview with Tone Talk. So I mean, I'll give him that I think he maybe got more educated and he kind of talked a little bit more about a true black agenda while everybody was not really talking about black agenda. Tamika Mowry, she made a couple points, um, but you know she made a couple points on it on welfare, uh, but she really didn't have much to say with the politics and the agenda. So I think she was kind of like maybe I think she didn't know enough, so she stayed quiet. And that's probably the smartest thing she did. She was just kind of just figuring stuff out. But the crowd was being very hostile to Kansas Zone. I really didn't like. I kind of wanted at least Kansas Zone to be finish her her point. And some of her points is actually true. Now there are some points that was very misleading. Ti had some points when he called her out about the slavery and what time was American Great. I know Killer Mike came out with the 7 years, basically Reconstruction. That was partly of the 7 years was very great until um, you had a dude uh, named Johnson, Andrew Johnson, that was the president. He actually did some reversal of land. Now we did acquire a lot of land at the first beginning after the Civil War, and we did have many politicians. We wasn't many. Our class did uh, bring some type of revenue, but Andrew Johnson kind of reversed that, and it was kind of like in a way he gravitated the reemergence of the South. Um, and he was kind of in the way he ushered in what was the Black Code that eventually became Jim Crow. So that's pretty much um, the success of black folks. Even though there were pockets of black folks and black communities that were thriving through some parts of the 1900s, but also came to be destroyed from race riots. That's like the summer of 1919. You had the Renewal Act from Eisenhower that actually um, basically used interstate system to destroy flourishing black neighborhoods as well. So it was many in the war on drugs and stuff that quickly followed. So there were many things that was going on at that time. But yeah, Reconstruction, if you want to say, was a great period of black people, ADUS people in the U.S. Um, but yeah, it was just more like a party, man. It was more like it wasn't even like serious because they had nobody that was really legit in to talk about politics. You don't have no politicians. You didn't have no economists. You have no historians. It was just celebrities, and you had some people like that was commentators, but even Candace Owen and even Katrina Corinthians, I mean, yeah, Corinthians ran for office and stuff, and she lost. And I mean, but she mainly was a commentator or spokesperson. And you have the same way with Candace Owens, basically a spokesperson. She didn't run for no political office. So I mean, it was kind of like Katrina is maybe the only one that had some political background because she did try to run for a political office, but she was unsuccessful. But she was like the closest one to a politician, but she was far right wing. So it was like, it was just some things that I don't know, they were serious about. And that's why you have to get real. I don't know, they were serious about it. I looked at it um, like I don't think they were serious, and then the crowd kind of turned me off because I kind of seen the views that Candace Owens was talking about. There was something that was true, but there's others that wasn't really factual. Cause even Killer Mike, did reinforce of what she was trying to state. Uh, so, um, like I said, Killer Mike gave the most strongest points. But even in his standard, when he gave the books, a lot of people said Jonathan Sitwell, something like that, and I know he's a highly black Republican that basically associates himself with white supremacy. So a lot of people didn't understand that reference of books and stuff. But I understand he wants to get you read up, he wants to get you educated. So I give him a shout out to read, even though um, most black people is not going to really go and read. You're going to have to, in a way, you have to, for black people to get it, they have to come to some type of understanding of hardship first. And that's going to probably happen within the next year when this economy go into a second recession or just a continuous depression as since the 1940s, I mean 30s. So that's probably going to be what is going to happen. As you know, it's already happening now. Pittsburgh, this came out. A lot of blacks is facing the consequences of this economic downturn that Pittsburgh been having. I mean, even when I was up there, the hardship was very real. I mean, there were certain pockets that actually was blossoming, but that's wealth. You know what I'm saying? That's wealth. That's white wealth. If you don't have that type of wealth, or you're not anchoring a boomer, or you're a black immigrant, or even have a white parent, you could somewhat go get a little bit of access to it. If they're not, then you just shut out. But but yeah, just like I said, the Revolt Summit, I'm not really sure. Like I said, I can't take it serious. Um, the crowd definitely. I mean, there were two hostile to Candace Owens. Even though there were some things she said that was literally dumb as hell. It was just the crowd wasn't really showing that respect in certain things. So I mean, it was to me, it was just almost like not seriously. Everybody was there to party, drink it up, whatever. Diddy was kind of just one. It's more like attention and more about getting ratings and more. It's more about profit and revenue, and that's what I felt. But I know they said they're gonna go do this, like do a tour all around the country, but they gotta get some real people on it. They gotta get but as being under the Comcast flag, I know they're not going to talk about that with Comcast case or claim or case to go against the 1866 Civil Rights Act law of the 14th Amendment. So I know they're definitely not going to talk about that. It's a lot. Just really to me, I don't think it's stated a lot. So that's my views on that. All right. One.